Hello guys, welcome back. This is the Mind Your Business podcast. Today we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. We're going to be talking about careers. We're going to be talking about many different things. This podcast is for those that want to get into entrepreneurship. You want a new job, you want opportunities, but you don't know quite how. We're going to bring amazing talent every single week, whenever this is going to drop, to give you more information about how to get into those respective industries. However, today we've got a very special guest. Dragon Slayer, House Flipper. Listen, give it up for Natel Allen, guys. Give it up for Natel.
Little curtsy. Thank you guys for the amazing intro as well. I'll take that.
Thank you so much for just coming on here today. I know that. Where did you come from actually? Before I started making guessing games, how far?
Area?
Yeah,
Dagenham.
Dagenham. Oh, you came from Dagenham.
Dagenham, yeah.
How long did it take you to get down here?
About an hour.
About an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too bad. It wasn't actually not too much traffic. So yeah.
Okay. Because I remember when you messaged me saying you're 3 minutes away, and then from the castle, you was battling through. Elephant Castle is not that's a dangerous route, you know.
It was. Do you know what? I wanted to go the route that I didn't have to pay, so I was like Tower Bridge straight, Elephant and Castle. So I used to study in Kingston, so I used to do that route all the time.
Interesting.
So I know it well, so yeah.
So you studied in Kingston?
Yeah, I went to Kingston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Before we get into that, let's do a little bit of history. I want to know. Okay. So tell us about your humble beginnings, how it all like education.
Okay.
I like to find out a little bit more about people's backgrounds.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up in East Ham, so I was born and bred East London.
Yeah.
We moved to Dagenham when I was like 13, 14. But yeah, I did like primary school, secondary school, sixth form. Loved languages for some unknown reason, so I decided to take French and Spanish and psychology at A level.
Okay.
No
So what's French and Spanish?
French and Spanish.
You're crazy.
Yeah, no, honestly, it
I
was
did
the hardest
French.
thing I've ever done.
Well, I did French for 2 years, so I know it's un, deux, trois. That's it.
Did you know what? That's really good enough to know.
You sure? No, don't lie. Don't.
That's all you need
You're
to
embarrassing
know.
me.
One drink or two. I like my wine. As long as you know how to say, "Can I have a glass of wine?" I think you're good in France.
Okay. How do you say wine in French?
Vin?
Vin?
Yeah,
Okay.
a verre de vin, so a glass of wine.
Okay, cool. Vin. All right.
So I do know some. I do remember the important things. But yeah, so I did like A levels, and then I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had watched Legally Blonde, which was like my favorite film at the time, and she did law, and I was like, oh, maybe I should do law. That sounds good. So then I went to Kingston and did international business with law. I still liked business, but it was. I don't know. I feel like law was always something that I enjoyed doing, so I thought, let me take that on.
So so are you like, are you technically like a qualified lawyer, or are you like?
So not completely, because I did most of the modules, but I didn't do all of them to be like an LLB. So it was a Bachelor of Arts. So yeah, it still had elements of law, but I think while I was there, I decided maybe I would go into something like commercial law. So it was like business focused. But yeah, my life did a 360. I definitely did not end up doing commercial law. So yeah, it changes. So I did Kingston for 3 years. So I was there. And then I came back and was just like, I don't know what I want to do. I wanted to be a recruitment consultant. And they were like, you don't have enough sales experience. So I was like, let me get some sales experience. And the first interview I had was for an estate agent for Foxtons. And that's how I ended up in property. And then I was in Foxtons for like 3 years and a bit. And then I went to another agency, worked there for a little bit. In the middle, I worked in education because I had like a competition clause. So I couldn't work for another agency within like the distance, so I had to just pick up something just to get out. And then worked back in property for a minute, decided I was like, right, I like education, I like the steady money, so I'm going to stay in that for a while. But then I kind of never lost my love for property really. So
So let's go back a bit.
yeah,
So
there's a lot there.
so you've done a lot, which is amazing, and just congratulations on everything you've done. It's brilliant. I've been stalking you online, looking at the Metro.
I've been up my internet presence.
Yeah, I know. I think I know your whole life now, and
Everything
and that journey. Yeah. So, and I think it's amazing. And one thing you just said now, you studied. I mean, you went into sales, right? You worked in sales for a little bit. How much of that do you think? Because I worked in sales as well, right? And I think for me personally, working in sales enabled me to have the mindset I have today to do what I'm doing in terms of entrepreneurship. How much of that would you say that contributed to what, your ethos and your mindset and what you do now?
Honestly, it's everything. Like sales for me was the biggest life opener lesson. I think it was knowing how to speak to people. It was knowing how to understand different situations and how best to kind of apply yourself. Especially when selling houses, it's very people will love a house, but they won't necessarily buy it just because you're the one who's selling it. They'll buy it because they love it. So the biggest thing for me was being able to get people to understand the market and why it's worth them buying it, not just through me, but also buying something that is probably the most expensive purchase of their life, and why it's worth pushing that extra bit of money to actually buy it now, because then in a few years' time it might be out of reach. So yeah, it was probably one of the biggest lessons. Between that at McDonald's, so like when
you went to McDonald's for a bit as well.
I went to McDonald's for like 3 years as well. That was the biggest customer building experience ever. Like I saw burgers getting flown. Customers would be like, "I don't like this. Take it back." Yeah, like I saw it all. So
that's amazing. And for me, it's like when you're talking, it just sounds like science. Because when you talk about like entrepreneurship, when you talk about like property and you talk all these amazing things you do, I'm listening to you and I'm listening with all like, oh my days, you've done all these things and you really know your stuff. But I think for me, or just in general, when you want to understand particular industries, right, you need to have a love and a passion for it, right? So how did you what motivates you? Like what's your driver? Because I can see the energy. Like when you're talking, I can see the blood boiling. Like how are you dismotivated?
Do you know what? I don't think I know how to not be motivated.
Oh, wow.
Like, no, I think it's a number of things. Like,
right, let's just stop there. Wow.
Yeah.
did we hear that, guys? You don't know how not to.
I don't know how to rest.
That sounds.
I don't know how to rest.
Listen, 7 bags minimum. If you want it on your show, 7 bags minimum. So say that again. Sorry, so they can hear you loud and clear.
No, I don't know how to rest. But I don't know how to not be motivated. Only because I think, I come from a family. My parents came here. They built everything up. I grew up in a house, which a lot of people don't have that. They brought the house together. And my dad had like 3 jobs. He used to hold it down. Wow. He had his own business. He was a driving instructor. He used to film weddings. He worked for British Gas. And just did a whole bunch of different
So you saw all of that growing up. You saw that hustle and bustle.
He also employed me to, I think I was like 8 or 9, he employed me to create. So that the VHS video cassettes. So when he used to video weddings, it was like those old school cassettes.
Oh videos. Yeah.
He used to get me to do the printing, like for the label, the covers for people's weddings.
So he involved you in his actual work.
And he used to pay me £1 a cover. So.
Really? So he instilled that mindset in you, that that sort of grind work. What it means, he instilled that in you.
Yeah, he really did. And he was he was always very business orientated. My mum had been a nurse and has been for like my whole life. So she's always been very dedicated to what she does as well. So I feel like it's seeing that, I kind of almost don't know how to not work hard, basically.
I love that. It brings me to a conversation that I've had with Ryan, right, in the past, good friend of mine. And we had this conversation about how much of it is really like nature versus nurture, in terms of, do you think there's people out there who can have this mindset and not go through that kind of graft? Like, or do you feel like you have to have gone through, those sort of like seeing, like you said, you saw your dad working 3 jobs, he brought you on to work with him. Do you feel like a lot of that stems from that for people? They have to have that kind of grind and that ethos.
That's a difficult question. I feel like it helped. Like for me, seeing it, it helped. And so my dad passed away when I was 11. So it was very kind of like, I wouldn't say a traumatic time, but it was just it was very sudden. So that kind of threw me into like, okay, I'm like 11. I've still got all of my like school stats and things that I need to do and get done. So I just focused. I think in that mind time, I'd focus. I didn't want to cause trouble. My mum was already like trying to deal with a lot, obviously. So I was like, right, I'm just going to get my head down and just work. So I feel like that's my way of just staying on the path and narrow. So that's kind of where I've stayed kind of hardworking. But I don't think that needed to happen for me to have done that. I think I would have still been like that just based on the fact that I know that they work so hard. So yeah, and I feel like my brothers, I mean, I have 2 brothers as well, but they equally work hard in their own ways. So I guess it's influenced us, but differently. So I think you don't have to go through that to be that kind of way. I think actually you kind of take as you learn as you go.
Okay, brilliant. Cool. So we've heard about your sort of humble beginnings. Kind of.
I mean, we were loved. We had a house and we had a roof over our heads. So
good. So you had that kind of family set up and that love there and that lifestyle, which sounds brilliant, right? So tell us more about. Let's fast forward now. Yeah. Tell us about recently. You've been on Dragon's Den. Well done. Congrats. Round of applause for that, guys. Woo!
The most brutal thing I've ever done in my life. I'll never do anything like it.
So that's what we want to know. So there's going to be people out there, right?
Yeah.
Who might be watching this and they may be applying for, I don't know how it works. Let me not cap like I know. Like they might be applying for Dragon's Den, or they might be interested, or they might actually, be waiting to get on that show, right?
Yeah.
We want to kind of understand and know what are some of the bits that were unseen. How did you feel? How was you aware that you was going to be on Dragon's Den? What was the whole process like from start to sort of finish?
I mean, it's kind of long. Like, I don't think people realize how long the lead time is for programs and things that happen. So literally maybe around like February last year. So I got an email from one of the researchers who'd been like, hey, we've seen you. It's like kind of a generic email, but it wasn't like it was a generic email, but it was from a real person. So it was obviously someone being like, hey, have you ever thought about applying for Dragon's Den? So I was like, what does this mean? Do I apply? Are you asking me to?
Yeah.
So I applied anyway, and then kind of went through the stages of audition. So I still had to audition. I still had to.
Wait, sorry, this generic email, was it just some random person, or was it someone from the company?
It was someone from BBC.
Okay,
so
from the BBC.
It wasn't like just random, but it was someone from the BBC. But because the email was generic, I thought maybe they've just found my business in like a bunch of different businesses and just kind of emailed me.
Right.
Hey, we're looking at businesses, because I guess the job as a researcher is you have to find different companies that might want to do it.
Right.
So I let her know that I'd applied, and then went through like an audition process, went through a lot. Like, it's not just one audition, it's like an audition by Zoom. You have to fill in so much paperwork. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much paperwork there really is, because I mean, you have to understand, like, it's BBC, like you can't go on there and be a fraudulent business, be scamming people.
So you got to vet you properly.
Got to be vetted, and you've got to make sure that everything that you say on TV is accurate as well to your business. Like, I can't go on there and say I make like 100k when I don't.
Right.
So everything has to be backed up with facts, and every supplier has to have, the right certificates, because they don't want to be associated with anything that's bad. So it's a lot. Like, I spent most of from February, March, April, May, for probably about 4 or 5 months gathering information whilst also doing audition. And at the time, I just started a new job, so I was working full time as well.
And you had your businesses
and
going
then
on.
Tell them
what going on. Wow.
So it was overwhelming, to say the least. And I'm just very lucky that I have some very good friends and family. Like, my friend is my accountant. She literally the day before I went to film, she had sent me all the documents I needed.
Beautiful.
So
all your projections and your
everything,
all those bits. Oh wow,
she was on point. So I have to give it up to her, and she was going through her own stuff at the time as well. So she came through all the way through. So
do you want to shout her out on camera?
Yeah, Danielle.
Danielle
gets all the praise for this.
We love you, Danielle.
We have been friends since secondary school as well.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, she held it down, but it was just one of those things that all of that information and getting it together was like a job in itself. And then you're not only thinking about the actual production, so there's a lot of involvement that I had to do in that as well, even down to choosing the music that the girls. So I had 2 models as well. I had to find the models.
Wow. Yeah, I remember the ones that walked on with you.
The ones that walked on with me, Grace and Sherelle. So I had to find. Well, I didn't. Luckily, it worked out. They are my friends, and they were able to do it. But in my first kind of wave of thought, because they film in Manchester, I was thinking, let me find 2 models in Manchester.
Oh, they film in Manchester?
They film in Manchester.
Oh, wow, okay.
I had to do a 4 or 5 hour drive the night before. So
jeez.
And I had to pick the models up on the way, because in my mind I wanted to get them in Manchester, so I didn't have to worry about they could just be there on the day.
Right, so you picked up your friends, and then you went up to Manchester. You had an overnight stay. You did it, and then did you come straight back, or?
So actually no, I've got a friend who lives in Preston, a little bit further up, so I went and stayed with them.
Okay, got you.
Afterwards. But the models came back on the train.
Okay.
I feel really bad about that.
No, your job's done now. You can go.
No state to drive afterwards.
You can go. You can go. Your job's done. No, joking.
No, I was no state to drive.
Okay, so tell us about being on the actual show itself. So I feel like you handled yourself really, really well. They were throwing a lot of questions at you. And I can't remember the guy with the glasses. Tuka, he was. I wanted to come on the show and show him something, but it's cool. But it's love. But you handled yourself really, really well.
Thank you.
I must say, and you did a great job at doing that. But how was it in that moment, sort of going back and forth with the dragon? or Dragons?
It was crazy. But what I will also say as well is you guys see like a 13-minute clip of it. I was actually in there for a whole hour with them. So they cut it down a lot. So
wow, a whole hour.
He went in on me a lot more than you guys saw on TV.
Pressure is getting worse, sir.
Even, I don't think I've told you this, but even from like the first sentence, so I literally just said my name. I was like, hi, my name's Natel. And he literally stopped me right there and he was like, stop. I can't hear what you're saying. Speak up. And I was like,
oh, wow.
I'm wearing a mic. Like, I couldn't hear me. But before I could even say anything, I think Stephen then chimed in and was like, oh, actually, I can hear her perfectly fine too. And in that moment, it caught me off guard. Like, I was like mid-pitch, like...
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of almost thought I was going to forget everything I was going to say because I just said my name. So, and I think at that moment in my mind, I was like, yeah, I need to pick this up. Like, I need to come correct because they're going to come at me. Like, the energy just fell off from there for me. So I was already ready to go.
Did you feel like it was tactful, the way he did it? Like, do you think he was trying to shake you? Do you feel like it's just his personality?
I mean, I watched the show a lot and I've always loved Dragon's Den. So I feel like it is his personality. And I think that's how, you know, he is in terms of business. Like, he's very direct. So I wouldn't say it was particularly mean, but I think it was just, it caught me off guard.
Okay.
Is probably the best way to say it.
Okay.
And because it caught me off guard, it made me realize I was like, oh, no, I need to like make sure I'm on point. And it kind of did get my back up a little bit, which is why I think I answered still in the way that I did, like still with tact, but I was very kind of like, had to come with the facts. Like, I knew I had to
you had to
quick.
fire it. And that's why I rated, because it was very, like, I know for me, if I was in that situation, I'd be sweating. I'd be sweating. You'd be seeing my face, sweat coming out my eyeballs, but you handled that really, really well. And I was like really respecting how quick you was firing it back. Like, you didn't really take that much time to really think about your answers. You just kind of had it there already. So in that sense, what kind of advice would you give to someone in that situation? Like, how best can you prepare for something like that?
That's a really good point, actually. I think you just have to know your business. And one thing about me is because I do this day in, day out, I have my hands in everything. So when he was critiquing the packaging, like, I designed the whole packaging. So any questions that they had to how much it costs, it's because it comes out of my account, like everything I see. So I think as a business owner, you know, even if you get to a point where you can afford to employ other people to do stuff, from the beginning, you want to understand how each avenue works. So then that way, when you pass it on to somebody else, you still know and understand it yourself. I think that's a very important thing, to actually understand your business, how it works for you, and then that way when you get big enough to pass it on to somebody else, you still have that knowledge.
And I think that's amazing you said that. And I also want to add, I think you got to be quite resilient as well.
100%.
Because they were saying a lot of things that I know is quite personal when they were kind of ripping, kind of like tearing the sort of branding and the packaging and talking about those bits. It gets a bit, I don't know, for me it will get a bit personal because I know that, okay, these are the colours and this is the brand, you know.
I took it personally. I mean, you didn't see it, but I took it personally afterwards. Like, listen, when I got into that lift afterwards, I cried. Like, they didn't show it, and I'm glad they didn't because I didn't realise that they were still filming. So I got into the lift and they shut the door and I just went, and I just breathed out. And and then I basically kind of stormed off the set. I didn't realise, so I saw the cameras going. I was like, oh my God, they're still filming. And I just panicked and I was just started running really fast.
Yeah. Into the sunset.
I'm glad they cut that bit out. But, do you know what it is? I went to get a glass of water and I was like, oh yeah, like crying with the water, like let me just calm down.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, they're filming. And if they showed that clip ever, you would see the realization on my face where I just literally was like, put the glass down and I just started power walking. So yeah.
But you held yourself strong because you didn't allow them to see you cry.
Yeah, I didn't want them to because I think for me it was like, you know, that was the one thing. Once I start crying as well, I can't stop. So I knew that I wouldn't be able to finish my pitch, and I wanted to finish. I wanted to get everything said. So
wow, that's crazy, man. I think I just admire you so much for that. I remember I was watching the show live. I was snapping it. I was like, woo! I was like, I had a beer in my hand. I was in my vest, like, oh, hey! It was moving mad on the TV, but no, that was really good. That was honestly really good. So that's Dragon's Den. Is there any other bit of advice you would give for anybody that's doing the process? Any last sort of advice just on Dragon's Den?
I mean, I would say for Dragon's Den, just know your figures, know your numbers. I know they always kind of get onto businesses for not knowing them, and I think when everyone was like, come away and was like, you knew your stuff. I'm surprised you didn't invest because you had everything. Just know your business really well and try and have a part in every single part of it so you understand it. So.
Thank you. And ultimately, they didn't invest. Was it because they thought it was too niche?
I think they thought it was too niche, which, you know what? I didn't go on there with any expectations. I think I went on there as an opportunity to put my brand out there a little bit more, to get more people understanding and knowing who I am. Any kind of money would have been a nice bonus. I would never turn down, kind of 40k if they wanted to give it to me. And if they still want to give it to me now, I'll take it. But
10%.
Yeah, just hold on.
10%. 10%.
But I think it was a good opportunity, and I think I always have to take away from that even if one good thing came from it, then that was more than enough for me.
And do you feel like you capitalized off it at all in terms of just now from being on the show? Is there anything you've seen come your way a little bit more off the back of that?
Yeah, I mean, the orders, obviously at the time when it was airing, the orders came through like crazy.
Oh, wow.
I'd probably say it's slowed down a little bit now, but there's still lots of opportunities with regards to like wholesale. And, I've met some really interesting people who've been able to contribute some amazing insight into my business as well.
Okay.
So like, yeah, even like I had like a meeting with someone who owned like a rum company, and he was explaining how he's grown his business that way, and he's like sold it to one of like the largest companies like who own crazy drinks like Baileys and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So he's just given me some really good advice, and
that's brilliant.
Yeah, stuff to take on board.
Well done. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I want to go into property now.
Yeah.
So this woman, she does everything. Please,
DIY
Drag
queen.
Den, Telemoir, properties. You're putting me to shame. Like I feel like I need to get my game up. Like
you're doing all right. You say
I mean, I need 10 bags. I mean, if you got it.
From 7 now.
Yeah, I'm doing because I'm looking at your net worth. All right. So talk to us about property. So how did you get into that? So I know you worked in real estate, Foxtons. Worked in Foxtons. So what was the process? How did you go from working in Foxtons to owning your own property?
So do you know what? So when I started at Foxtons, I kind of never really thought about home ownership. Like I just finished uni, I'd moved back home. Like my mum's really cool to live with, so there was no kind of forced to move out or anything like that. But when I was there, one of my colleagues, me and her had roughly, I think, sold about the same amount of properties at the time.
Right.
And she had just brought a flat, but her parents gifted her the deposit.
Right.
But she brought a flat in Stratford. So I was like, oh, but me and you are making the same. And as I came to understand finances and mortgage, a lot of it is not necessarily about the deposit that you have, it's about how much you're earning.
Right, okay.
And because of that, I was like, I'm going to have a conversation with a mortgage broker and just see what I can borrow.
Yeah.
And they kind of gave me an idea of what I could borrow, and I thought, okay, that's not too bad. Like, let me see what's around. So I started looking like around my local area. Didn't really see much, went a little bit further out. Saw a few one beds. I was like, oh, okay, so I could technically buy this.
Right.
Waited a minute, because I knew that I had like a lot of properties going through in terms of sales, and there was 1 month. Well, there's a good solid like 3 months where I was selling a crazy amount of houses. So in those 3 months, I thought, let me go and speak to another broker, get some more advice. And my income went up slightly, so I was able to look at different properties that were.
Income went up, yeah.
Yeah, income went up a little bit, but it was just because of those properties. But I kid you not, after those 3 months where I had like pure sales go through, there was like nothing for like a good 3 months. But
trying to bring it back now.
Yeah, that's the nature of commission. Like it's never straightforward, but. When I spoke to the mortgage broker, he was like, yeah, you can borrow this much. So that day I was off work, and at Foxtons, like they used to be open all the time. So getting a day off was like really difficult. Yeah. So I was like, right, I'm going to go look at some properties to say. And I went and saw the flat that I live in now that day. I placed an offer the same day. Wow. I thought, I was with my little estate agent, look around. I was like, cool, okay, gas central heating, okay, top floor, no lift, so no extra charges in terms of service charge.
That's how your brain kind of thinks. Wow.
Literally, as I looked around, I saw the doors. I was like, okay, lots of light coming through. It's got a balcony. Okay, good sized bathroom. And yeah, I was like, this makes sense. And it's fairly local. It's not too far away from my mum where she lives. So I was like, great, I'll put an offer today. And that's literally what I did. Oh, wow. And I think I was 23 when I saw that, yeah.
And you went straight into it just like that?
Wow. Straight in, yeah. Literally put the offer that
So, yeah, so it's 23. Yeah. You went straight into buying a property, yeah? Yeah. What kind of courage do you need? Because I know me, I'm 31, yeah? You're telling me to buy a property now, I'm shaking because I don't know what's right or wrong. Like, what gave you that confidence just to say, boom, this is it, let me just slap it down?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's always some key things that I would advise any first-time buyer to like, when they're going to look at a property. You want to aim for a brick-built building. Brick build is like kind of standard structure.
Yeah.
Ideally, you don't want. Okay, so ex-council properties are not always bad, but if it's a brick built ex-council property, you kind of want a low-rise one, so maybe no higher than maximum like 3 or 5 floors, I'd say.
Okay.
Some lenders have issues with like the outside balconies as well, where you've got like the long walkways, so those are things to kind of take into account. But yeah, ex-council buildings fine, but take that in like the kind of tall high-rise ones which aren't standard brick built structure.
Right.
It's like a guaranteed no from most lenders.
Okay.
So those were the things I looked at. So yeah, kind of a purpose build, modern flat, if you're looking at flats, or brick built house.
Yeah.
I personally prefer gas central heating only because that's what I've known and worked with, but you'll probably find as the climate and things move forward is going to be ripping out a lot of gas boilers, so it'll be mainly electric heating. So
Okay.
just bear that in mind that if you get a gas central property, then depending on the EPC level of the
EPC level, yeah?
EPC.
You see everything you're saying right now?
So yeah, EPC,
you're going in.
So EPC is like the energy performance of the property. So
got you. Energy performance. I thought smart.
Depending on what you're using the property for, like if it goes under, I believe it's a D, landlords actually aren't allowed to use properties or rent them out if they go under D, I think, moving forward from maybe it's this year or last year. I'll have to check the registration on that, but that's something to be aware of.
Where did you get all this information from? Okay, I know you worked in the industry.
Yeah.
But if me, let's say for the viewers at home, you want to get into property, you want to get into the industry, you are 20, 21 years old, you have no experience, you've never worked in the industry. Where can they find all this information that you gave us today? How can they, what's the first point of call?
Do you know what? I would actually say speak to an estate agent, because I actually learned most of this being an estate agent. Foxtons had very, very good training. I'll definitely give them credit for that. They had great training.
Right.
So we learned a lot of the rules and regulations then.
That's a good shout.
They're all online, actually.
Okay.
So you can literally Google research most of this information. There's a lot of different guides, and there's a lot of people who will always advise you different things. But these are things that I guess I've come up in like real life situations where, you know, I've had a buyer try and buy an ex-council property that's over like 5 floors, and, you know, HSBC will turn around and be like, yeah, we're not going to lend on that.
Okay.
So I know what they will kind of and won't lend on. You know, things like Japanese knotweed as well. That's like fastest growing like plant, like weed, basically.
Okay.
It literally kind of like breaks foundations, and most banks won't lend on it unless you have like a Japanese knotweed program in place.
Oh, wow.
Which is like, yeah, it can be like a 10-year program certificate where they actually go in, get rid of the weeds and give like a guarantee. So these are the kind of things that
you got to think about.
I know because I've seen it, and I've had houses unfortunately that haven't sold because they've
Of these types of things,
but you won't know it mostly as a normal buyer unless you come across it as an issue.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah, it's good to speak to someone who maybe has experience. So that's why I say speak to an estate agent. But yeah, the internet always has this information as well.
Okay, wow. Thank you for sharing that lovely bit of information.
There's a lot to know.
Because I definitely, I'm looking to buy end of this year just for investment purposes. Yeah. But I'm just taking my time, because the market's rent to rent. I think we spoke about this briefly before, BRR, rent to rent. There's all these different things going on. I've got a headache.
Do you know what? There's just so much about property. And you know what? So I qualified as a mortgage broker as well. But that was more just because, one, I enjoy property, and a lot of people used to come to me for mortgage advice anyway. So I wanted to make sure that I was equipped to be able to give that knowledge as well. But I worked in sales, so I've always worked in buying property. So rent is like, I understand it. And obviously there's lots of elements to it, but it's a different industry, I guess, as far as I'm concerned, for some things. Yeah. So yeah, I can always give advice in that regard, but yeah.
Apparently you've got a podcast, a real estate podcast. Is that true?
Okay, so me and my friends, oh my God, you guys did your research. This was a while ago, but me and my friends had a podcast, like it was called Property, Lust and Wine. Like we kind of just basically did a lot of property. So these were 2 girls I worked with at Foxtons as well. Okay. We're still very good friends now, but we all branched off into different industries. So I obviously brought a property. They both bought properties as well, actually, but they branched off. So Grace, one of my models, who was on Dragon's Den, ironically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to work with her at Foxtons. She branched into kind of commercial property, so she understands that aspect a little bit more. Yeah. And then Tanya ended up working in property law for a little while as well.
Okay.
So she was the person who helped me get my second property actually through
Right.
law.
So everyone's just interlinking.
We're all interlinked.
Okay.
And my mortgage broker for my second flat was my friend who also works at Foxtons as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. One big happy family.
Stay connected.
Wow.
Your net worth is your net worth.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
that's why I'm still friends with Ryan.
Yeah.
That's my net worth.
Yeah. Do you know what? They're really good.
So you think
It's always
100 bags? Yeah.
It really does help. But no, they were great friends regardless. So even if they couldn't do anything for me, they're still
great. Yeah. Okay.
It just worked out that they seem to stay in the industry as well.
Okay, brilliant. All right. Another question. I heard your nails appeared on Top Boy.
They did.
Tell us. We did our research.
Wow, you really.
How did that come about? And what episode and minute and second was it? So I can go find it. Well, you probably won't know that, but
not the exact minute, but basically in the new Top Boy that's coming out as well, they'll still be there. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So I sent a whole bunch of new products as well.
Oh, that's dope.
So. It started off as again an email. It's always an
You're
email.
active, innit?
Yeah, but I didn't. I'm very lucky.
You
Sometimes I
don't
get
play.
some really good opportunities. No,
Okay.
they emailed
Jesus.
me. Someone from the production team emailed me and was like, "Hey, we've got a scene coming up where we've got like nail products," and I think they were maybe actively trying to get black businesses on board as well.
But what platform are you on? Because you're just getting all these Dragon Den emails, Top Boy emails.
Do you know what?
Where are you? Where can I be?
The way you found me on the internet. No, you have to put yourself out there. Like I think social media. I've had people being like, "Oh, we've seen your TikTok," or "We've seen your Instagram."
Right.
So I think it's just even doing stuff like this, even doing podcasts, like there will be someone watching who knows someone or something. And
That
be like,
connects
"Oh, hey,
you.
I thought that was good.
Okay.
I saw you. You came across well." So I think there's definitely been some, intercommunications and things like that. So. But they reached out to the production team, so they just asked for me to send like some products. So it's pretty much in the background. Anytime you see Little Sims in like the nail salon, because obviously that's like her scene, the products that she has in the backdrop is our nail polishes, gel polishes, our gel lamp as well was there as well. So
okay, brilliant. Yeah. My one claim to fame with Top Boy is I did and I just because we're on the topic, I did like a Top Boy workshop with Ashley Walters, and his manager. We did a scene, so it was like me and a group of. So are we going to
see you in the next Top Boy?
No, I wish 700 bags. No, we did a scene, and I bumped into Ash Catch, who is that scene when they're in Morocco and they're trying to get the drugs, and it's that the Turk looking guy. Yeah, so he actually he's local. He's around here. Do you know what I mean? So I bumped into him.
I mean, I might just try and see if I can get a little cameo.
Yeah, no, listen. Now, if you want to, we can go. I know where he's at. We can go. I got his number. I got his number. We just go back him for no reason.
I mean, if you can get me introduced to Kano.
Listen, you're a fan of Kano?
Massive fan.
Really?
Okay, can we just when I used to live in East Ham, Kano literally lived like a road away from me.
Really?
Like, I lived on Calverton Road. He lived on St Olives Road. It's literally one road
away.
And I never met him in my whole life.
Wow, he must have just been in and out, just doing what he's doing.
My parents let me down on that one. I was only like 8 or 9, but they could have just like shown me where.
Kano's doing well. I know that he's in some other movie that's coming out soon, or he's just got plugged to be on some show with that guy from what's that movie called, man? Get Out. The Get Out.
Oh, Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah. He's got him on to do some show apparently. I saw it somewhere online. I don't know. You can tell I don't pay attention. I just saw his face and and I thought,
I'm
cool, they connected.
Fan of Kano. Like, and it's just the fact that I guess also when someone grows up like literally down the road from where you live and they become like massive, it's always
true.
My claim to fame.
Claim to fame.
Not really.
So tell us a bit more about your personal life. I mean, we've gotten to know the entrepreneurial Natel. We know. I think we know you from a business point of view, right? Yeah. I don't think we really know the real you. So, like, tell us about. By the way, do you have any like religious views? Ooh. Are you religious at all?
I mean, we went to church. We're Christian. We kind of, I guess, after my dad passed, we kind of stopped going to church really because it was like, I guess it was kind of memories, but also we moved away, so we stopped. We lived like East Ham. We used to go Barking, and then we moved to like Dagenham, so it was a little bit more difficult to get there in time, and then we just kind of stopped going. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably from then, I'd say I still believe in God. I still believe there is a God. I just probably haven't actively been to church.
To church in a while. Okay.
Time,
Okay.
So.
No. Okay. I don't blame you. Okay. And what about your love life?
Ooh.
I know this is a bit, but
how long have we got?
Okay, I mean we got some time.
No, I'm very much single right now. I just had a relationship end not that long ago, so I guess I'm also nursing a breakup.
Okay.
But yeah.
So you're going through a little phase right now? You just doing you?
Listen, I was eating dessert at McDonald's like every other day this last week. So,
I'm there with you in spirit.
But yeah, I think it's difficult sometimes in some elements to manage a relationship, then also have a business, and then also, I think, relationships require time, effort, and energy, and sometimes it can be very overwhelming. And if you don't have a partner that's very, I guess, not supportive, because I feel like my partner, he was understanding. I don't think there was any aspects in that regard, but it can sometimes just feel overwhelming when you want to do those things. Like, if I want to cook a nice dinner, sometimes I finish work and I just don't want to do anything.
You're shattered, yeah.
And even though I'm pretty much working remotely or I'm at home all the time, it's still a lot of things to think about.
Like your power, your meters down.
I don't want anything on top of that.
Yeah. I fully understand that because I'm there as well. But then what kind of man or what kind of person do you think you would need to, like, just in general, for like, if you're an entrepreneur and you're busy and you're active and your life is going, what kind of person do you think you need could kind of understand that? Would you
need someone, I think, who's supportive but also has their own lane. Like, I think it's nice. Well, actually, no, I don't know. I think part of me now would be like, I just want someone who has a normal job and isn't an entrepreneur to create that stability. Oh,
really? What do you mean?
Because I think if someone else is also on their grind, like, you're never going to see each other because you're always both working and you don't have that time to really just, like, sometimes I need someone who's going to be like, okay, Natel, you know what? Put down the nail polish. Like, let's just do something. Let's go out. I've booked it. Just turn up. Like that.
Do you mind being a breadwinner?
No, because I don't mind someone cooking my dinners for me and washing up and cleaning the house.
Oh, so you want a house boy?
I would love a house husband, actually. I would not be upset with a house husband.
Really?
No, I don't mind.
This is 7 bags.
I don't mind it, but I think it depends on the person. Like, I think I like balance. I like balance. I like things to feel balanced. So, I don't like washing dishes, but I don't mind cooking. So I will happily cook as long as you're cleaning up after me.
Okay. So, well, as long as he cleans.
Yeah, if he cleans the dishes and the stuff after, I think I'm good with that. Like, I'll cook day in, day out. So.
Okay.
It's got to be balanced. But I mean, by all means, if it makes financial more sense for me to work and you not work, then I guess that's the household. Like, I think it's never always going to be 50. I think every relationship at different points is, I might be doing 60 one time, you might be doing 40, then you might be doing 60, I might be doing 40. So it depends at what stage we're in life.
Okay. And are you like a big romantic? Or do you want someone that's, like sweeps you off your feet? Like, what's your type of vibe?
I feel like I'm a bit of a romantic. I feel like I think I'm quite difficult to surprise because I'm very organised. So I'm very planned. So anyone who can surprise me have to take time or have to really kind of like my cousins for my 30th, they did like a really cool surprise dinner for me. But it was during lockdown and it was during COVID as well, and so they had hired like a personal chef. I say my cousin, it was my cousin and my friend Jarina, but she's basically like a cousin as well. And they had hired a personal chef and they decorated it really pretty. And I had no idea what we were doing. Like, they kind of had a suitcase that they made me think we were going away. I was like, well, it's in COVID, how can we go anywhere? But I literally walked in and I was like, who's this guy cooking in the kitchen? Like, it was just the weirdest thing. But it was so sweet and well thought out. And I don't get surprised often, so stuff like that is lovely.
That's cute.
Yeah,
cute. Do you want to get married?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, given the real questions today, gosh, what?
I'm just asking.
What?
Yeah, question after, I'll open up to the general public afterwards. Yeah.
I would love to one day, but for me, I've always been one of those people that it's got to be the right person. Like, I'm not going to just... Same way with like having kids, all that stuff. I'd love to do all those things, but it's got to be the right person first.
Okay, so. I don't know if I can do it, man.
No, why not?
You know what? I get annoyed really easily. I get really, but I can control. Obviously, I'm calm and I'm very humble and I'm laid back. But little things annoy me, and there's times where you might have an argument with your missus, right?
Yeah.
And then I think, mate, I need to get the hell out of here. Like I need to cut. But it's just how I feel in that
like
moment.
A temporary
it's just a temporary thing, but I feel that strong emotion at that moment in time until we have a conversation and we read it back. But I know marriage is all about compromise, and sometimes you got to understand the other person's feelings. I don't know if I can do all of that stuff.
Wow.
No, I don't know. I don't want to be by myself. I edit it out.
I think if you find the right person, it will never.
Yeah, if I find the right person,
it won't feel like that.
If I find the right person, yeah, of course. I'm calm.
But
I'm calm.
I think it won't feel like that if it's the right person.
Yeah,
but,
no, I won't.
I don't know, but I can't speak for you. So.
Yeah, no, I won't. I was joking. Randy had a question.
So basically, what I wanted to know is if you have like a set of rituals that you do, during the day, during the week, during the month, there's certain things that you feel like keeps you in the right space and the right like the mental right and all that.
That's a good question.
No. I kind of do things like for myself, I guess. So I take some time. Like I'm a people pleaser. So when people say, "Oh yeah, come do this," I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then it gets to there, I'm like, "Why did I say yes?" So I think I've actively learned to say no a little bit more and try and keep my own time for myself. So I try not to do things on a Sunday. That's like my day to just recoup, tidy up, clean the house, and just feel like everything's back in order. I think. Yeah, at the moment, because I'm working part-time, I currently have 2 days, I say off, but they're not really off. It's when I kind of do most of my Telmar stuff. But I'm at home, so it means that I can actually take that time to really kind of process and like just do things for the business, but then take a minute to just, And my favourite thing to do is just order myself food anytime I feel stressed. I'm like, can't you just order food and that way I don't have to cook? And then, that's why I need to go to the gym. But,
You don't.
Second question, have you got any go-to like books or courses or anything that you feel that has helped you with what you're doing?
So my cousin many years ago gave me the book, was like Eat the Frog, which is like do the thing that you hate the most first thing in the morning. I think it might be, and it's like get the most difficult thing out the way. So for example, I hate working out. There's no way around it. I hate it. So I try and do it first thing in the morning. So at least that way, because it puts you in a better mindset, knowing that you've done the hardest part of your day,
got that out the way,
and
that's
then it
brilliant.
means that everything else doesn't feel nearly as bad.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That. So that's
brilliant.
My favorite advice.
I used to read a book called, I don't know if you heard of the Chimp Paradox. So it's about like brain training. So there's 3 parts of your brain. There's the computer, there's the chimp, and there's the human. And as human beings, we react off the chimp first. It's like nature, right? Like if you think about it this way, if you went to a party, right, is wearing a nice white dress, and someone spilled red wine on your dress. You're likely to be like, what the hell is this person? How did you spill this red wine on my dress? Are you dumb? Are you silly? That's probably the first thing that will come to your head, like annoyance.
Especially white dress.
Annoyance will be the first thing, right? But it says that in situations like that, if you don't want to act on the chimp, you need to walk away, breathe, vent out your chimp, exercise your chimp. So cuss the person out if you have to by yourself. Vent out, exercise the chimp, then come back as the human being. And then just be like, I know that was an accident. It was fine. You've apologized. No harm, no foul. And you move on. That's how they say it's the best way to kind of manage your emotions and your feelings. So Chimp Paradox. If you're interested in that.
Do you know what? I like that because I think I agree. Like I think sometimes you're very quick to react, and I can be like that. Not often, but there's some people who've pushed me that far. Very rarely, but they have. So I think, and then I've reacted in a way that I'm not always happy with, and I'm not. It really takes a lot to really push me. So you have to have really done something to push me. But then my reactions are equally as bad. So it's a lesson.
So you're not one to mess with, basically.
Just don't push me over the edge.
I'm the same as you. I need to exercise the gym every day. I exercise every day because I'm annoyed right now for no reason. No, I'm joking. What have I done? I was joking. No, it's not you. It's not you. Something else. But yeah, man. I yeah, this has been a really good, really good interview. Is there any last thing you want to say to the audience, to the viewers at home?
I mean, I'd always just say, like, the biggest thing with business as well, if you have an idea, just start. Like, just put yourself out there from the beginning, because even when I kind of first started doing this, I didn't really know what was going to come from it, and some of the opportunities that have come from me just having a Instagram that just exists basically has brought about so much, like, social media. And I'm very sure even with BBC, they had like a flip chart when they were doing like all of the dragons, and they had a picture on there that I'd never sent them, and in my mind I was like, they must have got this from, like, I think it must have been early on in my TikTok post or something, because it was like a screen still. And I was like, I didn't even know they even saw that. So everything you put on the internet and obviously out there, people do see. So obviously, one, be careful with that, but also use it to your advantage, because, if you just put something out there, you just never know who's watching. So yeah, just start. Don't wait until it's perfect. Just put it out there.
Lovely. There you have it, guys. Thank you for watching. That was Natel Allen, the living legend, and you've been watching Mind Your Business. Round of applause, guys.
Thank you for having me as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Get home safe.
Listen, you had me with that love life. I was like...